It only uses 2 tanks of gas a year, but it is a well-known headache. The car stays idle all year and is only used when it's the new year. You can choose not to drive it, but you can't do without it. With a monthly salary of only 5,000 yuan, the car is hardly used throughout the year. It is just for showing off when returning back to town. The loans are paid off over 3 to 5 years. The car depreciates by 20 to 30,000 a year. Recently, many Chinese bloggers have been talking about these so-called zombie cars. These cars can be seen on the roads around cities like Guangzhou and Shenzhen, or in remote wildernesses where they have been parked for a long time. Some are covered in dust, some are draped with tarps, and some have grass growing around them up to 2 meters high. These cars come in various shapes and sizes. Some still look very new, but have been parked by their owners in the wilderness for a long time. In fact, the owners of these cars are mostly migrant workers from other regions. They work in nearby factories where they are provided with meals and accommodation. They may only have 1 day off per week or even per month, so they hardly ever need to use a car. The only reason they bought a car is to drive back to their hometowns during the Chinese New Year. So these cars are jokingly referred to as 2 oil tanks a year vehicles. Behind me is a bunch of abandoned cars unique to Guangdong. These cars are only driven during the Chinese New Year, and some of them you can't even start up today. Let me show you around. Next to me is a Toyota Corolla. Can anyone tell me how it ended up parked like this? Look at this car. It's completely worn out. This one's a Honda. You can see it's cracked here, dented there, most likely got damaged while parked here, and the tires are all flat. Over there is a BYD G3. And there's also a Geely LEVC. And look, there's an Audi A4. What was the owner thinking? There's even a hybrid BYD Chin here. I don't understand. Won't its big battery go bad just sitting here for a year? And this cherry Tiggo beside it. It's completely unrecognizable. The paint is all cracked, see? The body even has dents. I can understand a car worth a couple 100,000 parked here, but a Mercedes-Benz is parked in this spot too. See, it's all scratched here. There's another Audi A4 up front. Is it worth saving this bit on parking fees? Look at all these cars. Most of them are worth over 100,000. This is a real-life situation of us common folks. In Shenzhen, especially places where there's no parking fee, you'll find a lot of these cars. Many people just use them during the New Year. But why not sell them or just rent a car? This is an industrial area in Dongguan City, and the entrance is filled with all sorts of hibernating cars. Today, I'll show you what happens to those laborers who struggle to buy a car and what happens after they purchase one. Look, many cars here are parked year-round and are essentially in disrepair. It's also year-end now. I think many people are considering buying a car to drive back home in style for the new year and to visit relatives. Some laborers buy cars to get a girlfriend or for blind dates and marriages. But this is what happens after they buy them. These cars are parked here all year round, hardly ever driven, because they're concerned about the cost of fuel. In September, a colleague of mine had a car like this parked on the side of the road for nearly half a year, and we tried to start it. It had already broken down. It cost him over 3,000 to fix it. For laborers who earn only 3,000 to 4,000 a month, paying a down payment for a car is no problem. But after buying it, they have to pay monthly installments, insurance, maintenance fees, and most importantly, fuel and parking fees, all which they simply can't afford. So they end up parked long-term in a place where there's no parking fee, left to weather the wild, and rapidly depreciate. And leaving these cars parked by the roadside for a long time is very unsafe. They could get scratched or stolen. Recently, there was a fire in the mountains near Shenzhen, and many abandoned cars were burned. Yesterday, there was a fire in the mountains, and there were 5 or 6 fire trucks here for rescue. I'm really worried, if those 2-tank cars will be burned. We see these cars, once covered in dust, are now turned into mud, probably from the water sprayed by the fire trucks yesterday. Let's move ahead. We see these cars are fine with no issues. Looks like ahead is where the fire was. I see there's still caution tape. Wow, these cars caught fire, completely burned, basically burned down to their shells. If these car owners see their cars like this, I wonder how heartbroken they'd be. People may ask, why park in such a dirty place? Because it's free. Don't be fooled by how dirty these places are. Once you drive out, there won't be any parking spots left. It's hard to find one. They found a spot like this, occupied it for a year, and only cleared out for the new year. If they're lucky, they might keep it for another year. This is a legendary two-tank car. They have no other choice in order to save a bit of money. Not only are the wildernesses filled with these zombie cars, but the urban villages where migrant workers gather are also occupied by a large number of zombie cars. This is an urban village in Shanyang City, Shanxi Province. You can see that the roadside is also filled with these zombie cars. Take a look at this car. It's covered with mulberries fallen from the trees. I wonder why the owner bought this car. What's the use? This is a strange phenomenon of Chinese car buying. These cars have been sitting here for months, untouched. February 10th is the Chinese New Year, which is also the peak time for these migrant workers to return home. Everyone noticed that these zombie cars parked by the roadside and in the bushes for nearly a year are now gone. Each one of them is being reclaimed by their owners, starting their only journey of the year. This person is nervously searching for his car. Bros, the exciting moment has arrived. My car has been sitting idle for almost a year without being driven. Let's see what it looks like now. To be honest, I've been worried that the car might break down from being left outside for too long. Let's see if it can still start normally. Feels like it's out of battery. The door doesn't even open. Oh, thank goodness, it opened. My goodness, it's so dirty. Is this really my car? He did not expect the car to start, and he even managed to drive it to the car wash. Because the car was too dirty, it would cost 120 yuan to clean it. After washing the car, it couldn't start again. He had to call for repairs, which would probably also cost a lot. Bros, the two-tank car finally started. I'm going to wash it and go home for the new year. Look inside. This car was parked in a grove. It's all moldy inside. Of course, being able to find the car in good condition and getting it fixed to drive again is considered lucky. Just like those cars that got burnt, the owners would probably be devastated when they find the remains. The money earned from a year of hard work might not even cover the loss of one car. Everyone knows that whether it's a fuel car or an electric car, leaving it parked for a long time can cause problems. First, the engine oil definitely needs to be changed. Then there's the battery, which can leak if parked for too long. Next are the tires. You can see that the wheels of these zombie cars are generally flat. That's because if car tires are parked for a long time, with one side of the tire in the same position, it will speed up the aging of the tire. There are also brake pads, windshield wipers, and other electronic systems, which all need to be replaced. No wonder they say starting up a zombie car costs 4,000 yuan. Of course, what's most heartbreaking is the rapid depreciation of the car. A new car bought last year could depreciate tens of thousands of yuan in a year. After finally fixing the car with great difficulty and hitting the road, the driver gets stuck in traffic on the expressway. Starting from February 3rd, extreme weather conditions such as snowstorms, freezing temperatures, strong winds, and heavy fog have been occurring in the central and eastern regions of China. Especially on the night of February 3rd to the 4th, freezing rain paralyzed almost all the expressways in Hubei, leaving thousands of vehicles stranded for dozens of hours. Some people even claim they've been stuck for 4 days. Infuriatingly, the authorities did not provide any rescue efforts. Travelers were forced to use crowbars and hammers to break ice and burn tree branches for warmth. The freezing rain area in Hubei province is located at a junction of several provinces, including Wuhan, a hub connecting 9 provinces. The rain almost instantly turned into slippery ice on the ground. Many people were unprepared, leading to accidents everywhere and filling the emergency lanes of the expressway. Some people mentioned that if you drive an electric car back home, you still need to queue up for charging, making the journey take twice as long as it would with a gasoline car. However, some car owners also noted that gas stations also experienced long queues, mainly because the freezing weather increased gasoline consumption. Those who joyfully drive their gasoline cars back home for the new year were also deeply affected this time. These gasoline car drivers often lack driving experience and skills, along with low safety awareness. Some don't even understand the most basic traffic rules, making driving under such harsh conditions extremely dangerous, especially for the long journey home. Many rural areas also have a large number of these zombie cars parked. Some young people who work out of town bought cars for convenience when they return home for the new year, whether for blind dates or personal trips, but they park them at their doorstep when done. Therefore, these cars sit idle for a year until they return home next year. One young man from the countryside bought a new energy car, a BYD Chin, for 180,000 yuan because he would look good for blind dates. After buying it, he went out to work. It's usually parked at home, only driven a few times when he returns at the end of the year. After 4 years, it had only accumulated 17,000 kilometers, less than his electric bicycle. He believes that buying a car in the countryside is more about reputation than practicality. Another young man from the countryside impulsively took out a loan to buy a luxury car. His car loan is over 2,500 yuan a month, while his salary is just over 2,000 yuan. Soon after buying the car, he couldn't keep up with the payments. Selling it is difficult now because the second-hand car prices are too low. Unable to afford to drive it, he can only watch it turn into a zombie car, parked outside his home. Look, it hasn't been driven for several months, and grass has grown so high under the tires. I've had it for 10 months, and it's been sitting here every day, just like a new car. In recent years, under the influence of the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda, people are fueled by the desire for social status. The trend for rural residents buying cars has been on the rise. Last year, with China's weak economic growth, the authorities hoped to boost consumption at the grassroots level to boost the economy. Moreover, due to overcapacity in the automobile industry, the government has been vigorously supporting the development of the electric vehicle industry. So there have been many campaigns encouraging farmers to buy cars. In June last year, several departments of the Chinese government stepped up efforts to promote new energy vehicles in rural China. On June 16, 2023, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, the National Development and Reform Commission, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, and 2 other departments launched the 2023 New Energy Vehicle Campaign. This campaign was conducted simultaneously in Huishan City in Jiangsu Province, Chonghai City in Hainan Province, and Jiangmen in Hubei Province, a total of more than 10 cities and counties in China. Various places promoted consumerism in rural areas through subsidies, vouchers, and discounts on charging fees. The campaign lasted from June to December, with 69 models participating in the promotion, including 5 models from BYD, as well as models from FAW Group, Dongfeng, SAIC, BAIC, and GAC, basically almost all major Chinese car companies. On June 8th last year, the Ministry of Commerce mandated the 100 Cities Joint Campaign Auto Festival and 1,000 Counties, 10,000 Towns New Energy Vehicle Purchase Promotions to boost car consumption. The initiative aimed to promote new energy vehicles in over 1,000 counties and tens of thousands of towns in China, with local finances and financial institutions urged to support car purchases under the 100 Cities Joint Campaign. In addition, from May to December 2022, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, the Ministry of Commerce, and the Energy Bureau held thousands of new energy vehicle special sales events in more than 10 provinces, including Shanxi, Jilin, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang. An article in China Securities Journal in May 2023 stated that new energy vehicles need to adopt a low-price strategy to promote purchases. Otherwise, it's difficult to drive consumption. However, under low-price promotions, concerns arise about the quality assurance of new energy vehicles. Chinese media revealed the new energy vehicle graveyards in many places in China at the end of 2022. Thousands of new energy vehicles are parked in suburban areas of many cities, resembling a graveyard. The sources of new energy vehicles in the graveyard are diverse, with various brands represented. Most of the cars are far from retirement, and many of them are newly manufactured ones that have been discarded due to poor battery life. Of course, some are abandoned by ride-hailing companies, but it cannot be denied that many are inferior electric vehicles sold to rural areas. Analysis of the industry shows that due to the high subsidies for new energy vehicles, many Chinese car companies have produced a large number of low-quality and cheap new energy vehicles to claim subsidies, but do not have market demand. Rural areas are often treated as dumping grounds for inferior products. Over the years, from home appliances to solar power to the cars right now, every campaign has become a sales activity that harms the lower class. Due to the poor quality of these products, farmers have suffered significant losses, some even disasters. For example, in December 2008, in response to the rapid decline in demand for consumer electronics exports caused by the global financial crisis, Chinese authorities introduced a home appliance campaign to boost the market. At that time, non-urban residents in China who bought color TVs, refrigerators, mobile phones, and washing machines were given a 13% subsidy based on the product's price. In December 2009, a survey report from the China Consumers Association revealed that, after conducting household surveys of 8,200 consumers in 275 villages and visiting 180 repair companies, the repair rate for rural household appliances reached a staggering 13%. That means 1 out of every 8 household appliances is sent for repairs. The article indicates that such a high repair rate far exceeds the normal level. Furthermore, according to media reports, many refurbished household appliances brought to rural areas harm the interests of farmers. For example, in 2008, cases of selling refurbished televisions were uncovered by the industrial and commercial departments in Ningbo and Taizhou, Zhejiang province. Additionally, in 2009, in Pinghe County, Fujian province, some businesses acquired old appliances, changed the outside, and resold them to farmers. Moreover, in 2011, Chinese PV products faced anti-subsidy and anti-dumping sanctions from Europe and the United States, leading to a significant decrease in exports. The previous aggressive expansion of production capacity led to severe overcapacity in the entire industry. Subsequently, the Chinese government launched subsidies for PV installations in rural areas to help digest the inventory, which also led to various problems. At the time, the official saying was that farmers could use rooftop solar power equipment to not only obtain preferential loans, but also sell excess electricity to grid companies to become wealthy. Under various temptations, many farmers joined rooftop solar projects to get rich. Many families borrowed PV loans because they did not have enough money. However, the annual income from electricity generation often couldn't cover the repayments. As PV subsidies declined, the 25-year stable income promised by PV installation companies also completely failed, leaving some farmers burdened with debt for decades. Some households were encouraged to pay lower down payments to leave rooftop PV equipment, but the quality of the leased equipment was low, often requiring maintenance, which means continuous maintenance fees. Living in China is indeed very difficult, especially for most vulnerable groups such as farmers and urban workers, who are often treated as cash cows. However, with China's economic recovery seemingly hopeless last year, many migrant workers who were working outside returned home early because they couldn't find jobs. Where would they have extra money to spend? Perhaps this year, there won't be as many people buying cars only to have them become zombie cars in the end.